Let's go!
Turn up, man.
Michael Van Buren, is this a big-time backup quarterback for LSU? Comment below your thoughts on how you feel about MVB. And look, I do think there are some things he does as well, if not better, than Garrett Nussmeier, and we'll share some of those at the end of today's video. But look at that ball location right here. It ends up being dropped. Let's discuss one big elephant in the room, which is his height. A lot of batted balls. He was amongst the nation's leaders in balls that were deflected at the line of scrimmage. And you take a look at some of the other names on this list, they're shorter quarterbacks like Miller Moss, Diego Pavia, and you see this obviously with the stature. And look, it's not the be-all, end-all in particular in college, but you'll see to get this up and down, you can see that all the balls being deflected throughout the year affects him. This ball is just lofted so high to make sure it's not batted down, and it's just really nowhere close. One thing you will see, which is ridiculous for a true freshman in a hostile offensive environment, was how well he went through progressions in this game. So you can see he's trying to work this little stop to the tight end right past the sticks. That is a very dangerous throw. So he gets off of it, and you'll see right when the pressure comes from Princely, who did not play versus LSU, this guy just absolutely tore this game up. Look at him just get rid of this football, sidearm-ish delivery into the flat for his check down. Leads him really well, good enough to get past one of the best players in the country last year in Chris Paul. And it ends up being not only a first down, but an explosive game. This was one of the more impressive qualities of Michael Van Buren. You watch these concepts just develop, and you can see this is a rush 3, drop 8 scenario, and there's really nothing that he likes, and there's honestly nothing that's open. So a lot of QBs in this situation would just scramble directly out of bounds, but you'll see he does an excellent job keeping his eyes down the field, and he makes a cross-body tight spiral back shoulder throw that would have been interesting if it was just slightly more accurate, but you love to see the process. So Mississippi State goes for it here on 4th and 7, which I agree with. And you can make a case that Van Buren on that last play should have just scrambled to make it a more manageable 4th. Whatever. I'm fine with it. You get here, and they are running mesh rail. This is probably the single most common 4th or 3rd and medium play. And this is a perfect play for what Mississippi State is facing here. It's a single high safety man coverage scenario, and there is a lot of pressure, and the rail is covered by Chris Paul. So now he gets off of it. You're supposed to read this dot to da, and guess what? This is really well done by Craver. Coleman is very underrated. He's now in Missouri. And look at where this ball is placed. Bang! Really good stuff to stay calm right there. And because the ball location was literally perfect, you allow Coleman to make an elite play after the catch and score. I mean, it really, really, really is good. And as he runs in, please like this video and, of course, share it with a friend. So I accidentally misordered the drives. Let's go to the first drive of this game. You get a little bit of a low snap. And once again, the progressions, you start off looking right. Now you're working all the way back to the left. Look at when he's actually deciding to throw this in breaker. It's really good. One mechanical thing you will see, though, throughout this is he puts so much weight on that front leg. And when you do that, it does cause the ball to dip, right? You can see that this is low and inaccurate. So you hear me talk about the PHL Patreon. And look, we're giving away a Jamar Chase jersey here pretty soon, autographed. And for you, sign up now. You get a free Joe Burrow card in the mail. We have already done a breakdown of the following interception, and it's probably one of the worst interceptions you will ever see. And this crowded at the line of scrimmage look gave Mississippi State issues all game long. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to let the actual picker break down this play for you.
Was it supposed to drop on that play? I was supposed to rush, actually.
Really?
Yes, so it's just something that I picked up watching film. So the quarterback that they had was a young quarterback. Mm-hmm. He was a freshman. Somebody inexperienced, so, he kind of going to overlook his routes. He going to kind of tell you where he going. He's not a veteran quarterback.
So I cut a lot out of that. If you want to see the full Michael Van Buren Patreon, it is linked down below. By the way, everyone that signs up gets a Joe Bro card in the mail, and we are soon to give out an autographed Jamar Chase uniform, okay? So there you go. Now, watch this. I mean, this, holy crap. I just want you to see this before we actually break this play down, because from a true freshman perspective, this honestly is one of the better throws you will see a player make. Holy moly. All right, so let's start with the first thing here. It is a rush 3, drop 8, and the protection is fine. All right, so he starts off looking to the left and then works back to the right. So this is one of those things that Tennessee does. The look to the left is just built in to the play, because if he actually did stay with the left, this is obviously a ball that you do want to throw. But something else about this is pre-snap, you do see the safety shaded over here, so you're probably never really wanting to throw this. Either way, even though he doesn't throw this, I mean, look at this. Staying calm in this pocket, and you're throwing an over versus zone. So you really need this route to get into this pocket of space. You do get a little lucky that 23 is reading the eyes of Van Buren, but Van Buren, look at when he's actually throwing this football, y'all. Look at this. He is anticipating that this window is going to be here, and he zips this ball right into his chest. All right, that is big time tackle football. So you want to know why Jeff Lebby actually got this job? It's because of play sequencing. This is absolutely brilliant stuff. Backup corner who played less than 200 snaps right here. Impressed man. You go back to the matchup, all right, and you get a play action fake. The safety goes center field, and Van Buren sees it, and like he has done all year long, throws a really beautiful vertical ball. And we want this to be slightly underthrown to make sure we do get the completion, and you do. Really, really, really. And this is who he is, right? Run the hurry up, little RPO action. He sees that the safety is kind of pinned in here, and guess what? You throw the quick ball out here, and this is just free yards. Once again, picking on the backup corner, and he misses a tackle. Good job blocking to the outside, and it's a fumble! Once again, 6. That's one hell of a drive to stick with it and pick it up. And then obviously, this is what a lot of you came for as far as 2025 is concerned, because Garrett Nussmeier is not a zone read puller. I do believe you will see Nuss pull on the zone read some. And what's very fascinating about this, will we actually see Jawan Johnson be the QB if we do want to bring in a different quarterback to actually pull on the zone read, right? Because you could see that Michael Van Buren wins a foot race. Now, what's very fascinating about Van Buren is his rushing numbers last year weren't all too great, but there is a reason for. All right, we go to the next drive. This was a miss by Van Buren to the best player on this team last year, which was Coleman, their receiver. So you get this snap, and you have a bunch of traffic, and Coleman is running this quasi kind of wheel. You're thinking that it's a quick screen. Corner runs down on the quick screen, and boom. Okay, now I can't see exactly where the safety is, and Van Buren is looking directly at Coleman. If the safety, though, is right here, you can also throw a back shoulder ball, and he doesn't decide to rip it, all right? That is a miss. It's not the worst because he is able to get out to the left side and show you a little bit of gamesmanship here, because you could see he sells the late hit out of bounds right here from 51, and he gets an extra 15 yards. So that drive ended in a punt. We now move ahead to another one. Mississippi State's defense playing a good game. Let's see if the offense can back them up. And boy, oh boy, they do. You get a play action fake. You start off looking to the left. This is very Tennessee-ish. Wide splits. Look to the left, off the play action, and just go to the right. And, man, this ball location obviously could have been a little bit better, but it's still really, really, really good. Okay? Honestly, this catch is just insane, right? Over the shoulder. Oh, man. Love to freaking see it. And this next play, 2nd and 8, you see a little bit of what we saw a little bit earlier, right? You start off play action, you roll out here to the left side, and once again, you can make a case that Van Buren should just run this to make it a more manageable third. If he just takes off and runs, he's probably picking up at least 4 or 5 yards, but he decides to keep his eyes down the field, and you can see before I actually show you this, it is a scramble drill out and up. He sees it and decides to throw a jump ball. And this ball location is actually fine. Now, you do get a little unlucky that the receiver here is dealing with the shadows. He probably couldn't even see it. I mean, honestly, the way he played it looks as if he's just trying to bat this ball away, and he lived to fight another down. All right, let's go to this 3rd and 8. And boy, oh boy, I know Mississippi State wishes they could have this back. I would never get into empty because a sack really, really, really does hurt you, especially if they're crowding the line of scrimmage, but they've already burned one timeout. You do have something quick right here over the middle, but the offensive line does not protect it well. If I was the center or the QB, I'm just automatically telling everyone to block down and leave the outside guy free. And honestly, Van Buren does the smart thing to just eat the sack. The inside guy, Paul, is also a faster player. This same guy that intercepted the ball a little bit earlier. And, you know, this shouldn't be thrown. This could have been picked off. But, man, God, you just have to eat the sack. I'm sorry. I mean, there's really not a whole lot he could have done here. It's just not great offense and a perfect defensive call. And honestly, you have to know in this extended red zone area, a lot of teams bring blitzes because they want to kick you out of field goal range or get you out of that 4th and 7, right? Like you saw earlier that led to a touchdown. So, man, I would have liked something different there. All right, so now you're down by 3. That was a huge, huge sack. So it's kind of the same thing, the Tennessee play action, and you're throwing a go ball, and this one actually is inaccurate. It's not the worst thrown ball in the world, but, you know, obviously you want to lead him a little bit more. I understand, like, putting it right here to where the DB can't make a play on it at all. That's a little bit easier to do on a slot fade because of the angle, but still. We get to here, once again, Princely, we were lucky we did not have to play him earlier this year. He cuts to the inside. I will say Mississippi State got away with quite a few holds in this game. That's, I mean, you can't block. I mean, that's just got to be whistled. Well, Ole Miss does not get the home whistle, and guess what? Instead of actually chunking this football, he says, let me take these yards, get as far as I can up the field, and, well, you could see this bench was not happy that there wasn't a hold called there. But as they always say, calls do tend to even themselves out, except versus LSU. So you have a little stop and go right here, and, well, Van Buren throws this ball up. You can make a case that this is indeed uncatchable, but there is a clear pull right there, okay? You can see it. There's a better angle of it. I'm not going to show you for brevity. And there you go, right there.
You want me to pick you something up while I'm out?
Yeah, you can. That sounds good.
All right, send me what you want. Just text me.
All right, I'm far from being Kurt Warner or Drew Brees when it comes to mechanics, but you do see the same thing pop up here as far as putting a lot of weight on that front leg, and it does cause the ball to dip. Now, there's extra pressure on Van Buren because you don't have any timeouts. But, I mean, still, in the spot, that is just, once again, someone please correct me as far as QB mechanics are concerned. Also, looks like that ball could have been tipped, but it is low. So now we get to this 3rd and Krotz Springs. Whew. I can go for some billies right now. This is some really good stuff. You see that it's quarters, so if it's quarters, just run the quick comeback route, get the ball out, and see if 6 can actually make a play after the catch. He actually does and makes this a manageable 4th down that Mississippi State doesn't go for. They punt the football away. So we have reached the halfway portion of today's program. Please drop a donation. It goes a long way. These film studies do take a while to complete. So, speaking of completion, this is redunculous. I almost did a pause, but that would have been a bit of a stretch. So, this is honestly some creative quarterback play. So, he decides to not throw this football because of the linebacker in this window. So he decides to go to the second window here and throws a dime. Now, if this safety would have kept running, does he pick this football off? Maybe he does, but man, that is still ridiculously good stuff. You do want to be careful, though. In this league, on in-breakers, you don't want to stare things down for too long. Now, this is the only non-throw we'll probably do, but this guy right here, I just want to show him some love. Walter Nolan, he tore our asses up, and we're still able to find a way to win, and you could just see what he does to people. My goodness gracious. So the fact that Garrett and the rest of the offense was able to figure out a way to win this game when Walter Nolan tore us up is really something else. Now, we get to a bad pick, but I hate to use the word bad because the play design actually is really good. So the thing I would have wanted here is you're showing a potential QB counter to the left, but it's actually a wheel up the middle to the running back. And you can see that it's open, but the safety from cross field is able to pick this football off, all right? So, is this really Michael Van Buren's fault? No, because the design of this worked. I just would have preferred something to hold the safety right here. So, let's just say, and it is part of the fit, it is, the slot receiver essentially becomes a tight end on a potential counter GY kind of lead, or counter GF, whatever you want to call it. So if we could have had something that held the safety, so instead of having him run all the way over here, just have him run a stop. If he just runs a stop, the safety couldn't come over the top and actually make this play. So this is more so a design flaw. It also would have been a legal man downfield because this is indeed past the 3-yard mark. So there should have been a flag thrown. But really, there's nothing Van Buren can do about that. You have to throw this football in that spot. And it's just a turnover. It looks bad, but it's not on him. Okay, so once again, this Mississippi State defense stepped the stepped TF up. And guess what? You start with a very quick throw to your best player, and what does he do? He drops it. That would have been at least 2 or so yards. So after a good run on 3rd down, this is really good stuff, all right? Remember, if they're crowding the line of scrimmage, you're probably going to bring some type of pressure. So let's run something quick, and Van Buren gets it out quick, and, well, it's dropped, all right? Now, the DB does come in and make a really nice play. It's the same dude. Well, actually, it's not the same dude who picked it off. But could Van Buren have done more? More experienced QBs would say this ball location needs to be a little bit better. We want this football right here to protect against the DB. So, yeah, you can make a case that this ball needs to be here instead of leading him upfield to give the defensive back a chance to come in and punch his football out. But still, it's a good play by the DB. You would like to see a receiver still bring that in. Now, once again, the defense steps up and you get the football back with the chance to go take the lead. And once again, Michael Van Buren shows really good, calm, cool, and collectiveness right here. Look at this pocket. It's good. And he feels comfortable right here to work this comeback route. Now, it did help that this DT fell, but, man, this is really good quarterbacking. It should say better route by the receiver, but really good stuff. So this has more to do with the game itself, but the best down in football is 2nd and 1 and 3rd and 1. I hate that on this drive that they had multiple 2nd and 3rd and 1s, and they never took a shot, right? They just kept running it straight up, and yeah, you did get first downs, but take another shot down the field. All right, 1st and 10, and this is why you have to take those shots because, well, you have a better shot of actually running something that is longer developing. You get a really nice spin move to the inside right here by Princely, and one thing Van Buren could do is he can avoid the first rusher on sacks. I do think in this spot, though, you want to be careful with extending plays because, man, that could have been an even bigger shot. We get to this 3rd and 9, and I would have loved to have seen more screens and QB draws. QB draw, they had a big touchdown versus Texas. That was one way they could have helped slow down this rush. We just did a Gunnar Stockton film study on Power Hour SEC. They did a lot of screens and draws when Gunnar Stockton had to step in versus Texas. And right here, I didn't like that on these 3rd and manageables, they just ran stops, right? This was what they did last time, and Ole Miss this time was ready for it. So this is one of the few times Van Buren panics, and this honestly is absolutely perfect pass protection. All right, Ivy's out of the play, Princely's out of the play, Walter Nolan's out of the play, and the one guy who fails is Van Buren. Okay, he kind of goes down on his own volition here. If you just step up, plant your leg, and just go for it, you're making this a manageable 4th. And I would have told him in this 3rd and 9, and just 3rd and 9s in general, if there are scramble opportunities, take them, right? Because you run right here, you might actually even pick it up with all these rushers past you. Instead, you take a really, really, really bad sack with your knee down there. I do like the toughness, though, fighting through these tacklers to fall forward for extra yards. Ole Miss scores again, and now you're in trouble. So what you must do in this spot is just matriculate the football down the field, right? They're going to be playing very conservatively, so they try to run a quick screen, and they decide to not do it. But look at him, direct traffic on the scramble drill, tells him, hey, let's just work this sideline right here. He gets the football out quickly, and it is indeed a first down. So big shout out to the wifey. I just ate the meal she sent to me. Comment below the major fast food chain that I ate, and I'll send you an LSU card in the mail. Whoever the first one is to get it right. Let's talk about Van Buren's fit with LSU's current wide receivers, okay? So you have exactly what you want. This is not Ole Miss's best corner. He's up here. So this is their number 2 corner. You'll see that Coleman wants to get a really good receiver. He's with Missouri now. Turns him around, all right? So Van Buren sees that, and I would need to see how windy it was. These rivalry game weekends in the cold can be very difficult to deal with. But in this spot, we want the football to be thrown in this direction. And remember, even though Coleman's very good, almost every LSU receiver they have now is faster. So if this is Chris Hilton, we definitely want the ball thrown way out there in this direction. Berrien Brown, same thing. And you'll see that it just leads him too far, and it allows the DB who's at a leverage disadvantage to come in here and make this play. Could Coleman still have caught it? Maybe so, with a little bit more creativity, but not really. It's just a good play right there by 3 getting back into it. And you could see he's like, hey, throw it more in this direction to give me a shot. And you'll see it right here, okay? He has that step, but you see he has to slow down and relocate this ball, and it just drifts back into 3's path. Another thing I find to be very interesting, Ole Miss. What the heck is this? This is a rivalry game with an all-time great Ole Miss team, and this many people have already left in the fourth quarter? That's... I don't know about that. Third and Kinder. Shout out to Big Dex. You need to pick this up, or at least make it a manageable fourth. So they try to run this little running back wheel, and you can see Van Buren likes it. He stares it down all the way yet again, okay? And he gets away with it yet again, all right? So he does deliver this football. I like the fearlessness in this spot. This defender would have been well within his right to pile drive him, but now, you don't have to worry about that as much anymore. And he does throw this ball. And once again, if 5 keeps running, he might have a chance to deflect it, but still, it's a really good throw in a tight-ish window for a first down. So once again, Michael Van Buren this year really, really, really nasty on goal balls. This time you get your best player on a safety. This is just an automatic throw every single time. Coleman absolutely burns him, and this ball is slightly underthrown. A perfectly thrown ball gets this done. If this is Chris Hilton, he's scoring because he just has that giddy up. Give 28 credit for fighting his way back into this play, and now you got to make him convert in the red zone. Okay, so it's now 3rd and goal. They tried a few runs. Walter Nolan blew it up, and then there was ironically, Marlon Martinez false start, the former LSU offensive lineman at left guard. And he does a good job getting it down here. Maybe he's able to score. Manageable 4th down coming up. So let's get to this 4th down and goal. Holy crap. This is such a good play call. And this honestly was what the Washington Commanders used to defeat the Atlanta Falcons earlier this year. And if you want to see that breakdown, it is floating in the top right corner of your screen, okay? Especially if you're a Jaden Daniels fan. So, obviously, you're going to probably get man coverage, and what you're trying to do is create traffic and then have an in-breaker break behind the traffic, okay? And guess what? It works. The thing I really like about this is when Van Buren decides to throw, it's quick and it's now before we can even get into the space. That's really good stuff, and this should have been pass interference. And you tell me if this is PI. Well, you don't need to tell me. They're never really calling this in the fourth quarter of a rivalry game, but that arm being impeded is definitely impeding the best receiver on this team who's got really good hands to catch his football. That has to be called. Now, let's talk about Michael Van Buren's immediate and future. Speaking of future, number 3 right here, making a Russell Wilson type of moonshot ball right here. This is absolutely positively nasty stuff. Once again, you see the safety get over there in time because, his eyes can really lock in. But, man, to fit that in there still and throw it with such beautiful loft, holy crap, it is a thing of beauty. So let's first talk about what I like and what I don't like. We talked about the batted ball thing. A few big red flags are a lot of sacks. Now, a lot of this has to do with the offensive line. Charles Cross isn't on that Mississippi State front, but he did take a mountain of sacks. And obviously you compare that to Garrett Nussmeier, who doesn't really take sacks. That needs improvement. Also, another thing that really didn't show up in this film study is Van Buren has a fumbling problem. Good news is who many think is the best quarterback in college football going into next season had a massive fumbling problem early in his career, and that was who LSU plays in Week 1, Cade Klubnik. So that is something that can be fixed. Another thing, obviously, is the mobility. You would like to see with his speed. Now, he's not a burner, but, his rushing yardage was a little bit lower. I do think Mississippi State could have done more with the QB draw game, like we mentioned a little bit earlier. So that is something that he provides, which really isn't in Garrett's repertoire. But still, really good stuff from Michael Van Buren, because this is one undeniable fact, outside of the fact that you guys watched this today, and I think a lot of you would say he is at the very least good. He is a good college quarterback. Now, can he be special? I don't know. But one thing that is an undeniable fact is that there has never been a quarterback, in particular in their true freshman season, that played a harder schedule than Michael Van Buren. A quarterback that shouldn't even have been playing this year, but because of the injury to Blake Shapen, the murderer's row he played against is going to have him so ready to go for his future that, you're really going to be looking at some seasoned veteran who's only in year 2. So what about the immediate future? Obviously, if Garrett goes down, Michael Van Buren should be the guy. I understand Colin Hurley has looked really good since he's been back from his accident, but Van Buren, with all this experience, you don't bring him in to just not play him. And then obviously he took the spring reps while Colin Hurley was getting better. Now, personally, I'm rooting for Colin Hurley. He's been on the channel before. He's been at LSU. So that's who I'm rooting for, but I do think Van Buren will be the QB2. Now, where it gets interesting is with the Juwan Johnson situation, him being in the quarterback room, you can kind of hedge this very interesting situation with Juwan being the change of pace Wildcat quarterback, and you could potentially redshirt Michael Van Buren this year and have 3 more years of eligibility with him potentially starting in 2026. Now, you don't want to overthink it because this LSU team very well has college football playoff aspirations, so you really don't want to think about that too much. But even though it would be nice to have a Wildcat type of QB, you can do that with Juwan Johnson, and I really just don't like the idea of taking a quarterback as good as Garrett Nussmeier off the field at all, even though there are some pros to it. And that's the thing. And this doesn't really need to be said, but Garrett is going to have such a phenomenal season that Michael Van Buren might not play. What I would do, though, is think about what you want to do in mop-up duty. And this is where it gets creative. Let's just say you're blowing Louisiana Tech out and you want someone to go in there and get some reps. Do you want that to be Colin Hurley instead of Van Buren? Because Hurley already has redshirted. So that is something to, at the very least, think about. But in this day and age, I mean, you just never know who's going to go where. Now, as far as Michael Van Buren being your quarterback for 2026, would I be comfortable with him being the QB1 for LSU going into next year? The answer to that is, well, actually, I'm not ready to give an answer to that because I actually want to do a film study from either the Georgia or the Texas game. But those tapes, just, after a quick look, obviously that's a wide open throw you're looking at right there, was actually fine. You look at CFB numbers, his advanced analytics spiders chart doesn't really paint Van Buren in a very, fine light. But then again, it's a true freshman versus by far the hardest schedule any true freshman quarterback has ever faced. So, and honestly, just any quarterback, really. When Missouri is probably the worst defense, or Arkansas, you're really doing something special. the P4 matchups. So, it's just so tough to say, hey, I gazillion% want him to be the guy in 2026. There could be a lot of changes from now until then. And then obviously you don't know which QBs are even going to be in the open market that could be available. What if it's someone like Aiden Childs wanting to get out of the Big Ten? I don't know. But holy crap. I mean, you guys saw what we saw today, right? It wasn't spectacular, but it was indeed very, very, very good. And normally true freshman quarterbacks or just younger quarterbacks are just super duper jittery. What a freaking dot that was. You had to get the close up there. And I know somebody watching this right now live on a premiere is going to drop a donation. I do appreciate that so much. But the truth is, Michael Van Buren is definitely a top 3 SEC backup. And I do believe if we needed it, knock on wood, he could Ryan Perrilloux us in a spot if Garrett were to go down. So, I am a believer in MVB as our QB2 this year and honestly as a potential QB1 of the future. So there you go. Give him the virtual reality goggles, Jaden Daniels style. I honestly think every QB should do it. So let me know what you guys think down below. Am I overvaluing the tougher schedule and an Ole Miss tape where he only completed 50-ish% of his passes? Let me know what you guys think. Set me straight. And floating in your face, some other fun videos. It is Power Hour LSU. Boom. And tonight we are doing... Well, I can't say what we're doing because it would give away the trivia.